I have a very special guest joining me tonight, Dr. Lucas Melendez. Everyone say hi, Dr. Lucas.
Hi,
Yay.
guys.
Dr. Lucas is one of my best friends. We went to chiropractic school together. He runs a Max Living chiropractic clinic out in Queen Creek, and him and his family are phenomenal. They love Christ. They have almost 5 children.
That's right.
About to have a baby like any second now.
Yes.
So we time everything together. I have a baby, he has a baby. This is working great. He's going to help me coach and teach tonight because there's so much knowledge and value that he gives that I'm excited that we can co-share this together. And as we're going to together dismantle the system tonight. Are you guys ready for that? Yes. I'm going to warn you tonight. This is going to be the most spicy seminar, and we are not holding anything back. We are going to go all in. This is like the uncut version, and we are going to make sure that we expose what needs to get exposed. But the goal of tonight, I want this to be clear, the goal of tonight is that when you look at the system as a whole, I don't think I'm alone in saying that there is a very broken, corrupt system that has created an unhealthy country, right? And when we start to look at this, I want us to walk out of here knowing how to use proper spiritual discernment and looking through and reading through the lines because it's very blurry right now. And sometimes we kind of just follow blindly. And when you see tonight, what you're going to see is we're going to teach you how to look for pattern recognition when it comes to looking for the things that are not accurate or go against what we biblically believe when it comes to our bodies. Does that make sense? So when it comes to pattern recognition, let's start off. These little guys here, this is fun. Can anybody tell me these 3 pictures have something in common? Let's start with Amazon. What is unique about Amazon's logo? Anybody know? A to Z. A to Z. The arrow goes from A to Z. They will ship everything from A to Z is their motto. FedEx. What is hidden in the FedEx sign? The arrow. Look, they know. Look at this. There's an arrow inside the E and the X. How about Baskin Robbins? What's the hidden sign there? Say it out loud. 31. Because how many flavors does Baskin Robbins have? The 31 right there. You see that? Here's the title of tonight is Bamboozled, and here's why. Is that once you guys see that now, you can never unsee it, right? Now you're going to see it forever. Tonight, when we go through these concepts, once you see it, it's very difficult to unsee. Now you understand the foundation, and this is how we drive this thing home. Does that make sense? So, like everything we do, we have to start off with the Bible verse because this is our source of authority. And this is our theme for tonight. Proverbs 14:12 says, "There is a way that seems right to man, but in the end it leads to death." This is the theme I will circle back to every single time. Because here's the problem, is that in our culture today, there is a way that we believe is right. We think we know better than the ultimate creator. And what we're finding is that is not leading towards more abundance. It's not leading towards more health. It's leading towards a whole host of sickness and disease in our country. And we're seeing that. So we're going to come back to this verse multiple times as we go throughout. You guys ready?
We did this talk last week at my office. Mike helped me lead it. And over the last week, I've had dozens of patients able to have hard conversations with loved ones about vaccines or about pregnancy or about fevers and when to let a fever alone. So really, one of the biggest goals is to give you guys the tools to be able to talk logically with friends and families to get them out of a corrupt system and give them clarity, but without a bunch of, I want to say, not emotion, but sometimes when you talk about the stuff, it can get very heated. So we want to give you the tools of like, hey, here's the truth. You can save loved ones and have conversation with coworkers through what we're talking about tonight. Through meeting with Dr. Mike over the last couple weeks, one thing we've been like talking about, I hope I can okay to say this, is like how fiery can we go? So does anybody want us to be PC tonight? Politically correct? Okay, good. I figured I figured you guys wouldn't be if you were here.
No.
So we're going to be giving you guys truth. Our goal is health for you, your families, and your loved ones. And if there are any complaints, just email me at Dr. Mike K. Pierce at Empower Family Chiropractic, and he'll read all of them.
That's it.
That's what I wanted to share with you.
He has a great point. How many of you guys, when you've tried to have a conversation like this with someone, you know that you're passionate behind it and you try to get your point across, but you don't know what to say, and you kind of just like word vomit all over people. You know what I'm talking about? And you're like, oh, I just starts going off crazy. Like you said, tonight I think there's going to be some foundational connections that are going to help. Cool? Bamboozle number one. The U.S. has an excellent healthcare system, and we can trust our experts. True or false? Mm. It's kind of funny to say it out loud. I can't even say it. So, this is what's. Let's start with this. When you start looking at this, so there's a book written by 3 medical doctors, and they're sourcing basically the medical model and medical system. Okay, and let's just start with this concept. In the country, look at the top 3 leading causes of death. Now, I'm going to pre-frame this by saying this book was written, I think, in 2009 or 13.
Yeah.
So, just real quick, before I give these numbers, if I were to compare our country today from 2009, are we better or worse? So just know that these numbers are probably worse than what they are in here, right? The 3rd leading cause of death, anybody know what it is? You're skipping ahead. You're skipping ahead. 3rd leading cause of death in our country is cancer. The big C. Cancer is the 3rd leading cause of death. About 650,000 people a year. 2nd leading cause of death, heart disease. 720,000 people a year on average. Number 1 leading cause of death is what they call iatrogenic death. So this is according to the American Medical Association, or the JAMA, right, from that article. What iatrogenic death means is that you went to the doctor, they properly prescribed you a medication or a surgery or a treatment, and then you died from that process. So following the doctor's orders is what led to death. That is the number 1 leading cause of death in our country today. Let me ask you guys a question. If I told you the number 1 leading death highway in the Arizona was the 202, that more people die on the 202 than any other freeway, how many of you would drive on the 202? How many of you would let your loved ones drive on the 202? No hands. Here's the thing. If this is the number 1 leading cause of death, not only should we not seek that system first, but we need to protect our loved ones from seeking that system first, because we're not seeing health and abundance come out of that system. Do you guys see that? Like, numbers are numbers, right? Now, what's interesting is when you look at this number, to make it like visual, what this is equivalent to is if 6 jumbo jets crashed every single day. If 6 jets were just crashing every single day, nobody would be getting on an airplane ever. So we start looking at the magnitude of these numbers. Now, that's just healthcare system. You want to add anything to healthcare system?
No, that's
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, trust the experts. I'm not going to spend all day on this because we could. Here's what we're going to say. When we were told to trust the experts, I think I'm assuming that most of us in here had a gut feeling back then. And now that things are coming to light, and now that we're seeing things for what they are, and now that all of these, if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, by the way, all of Fauci's emails and text messages and things got leaked out, and everything is now being exposed. And one of the things that they were told, this just came out recently, was that they knew for a fact that 81% of pregnant women that took the COVID vaccine would have a miscarriage. That was a known fact. And then during COVID, not only did they not say, hey, there's a high chance of miscarriage, probably don't do this, they heavily forced pregnant women to get the COVID vaccine, knowing full fact that 81% were going to have a miscarriage. If you look at the number of deaths miscarriage-wise in 2021 and 22, they were astronomically high. And then there's so much more to this that we can unpack. But here's the problem, is that the experts, we got to be very careful of who is the expert and who is that we're putting blind trust into, because when you start to see some of these things, it's kind of staggering. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I wish we could. I dream of a world where we can trust the experts.
Yeah.
But the systems are so corrupt with money that your expert pleaded the fifth 100 times. So if that doesn't kind of shake you, if you were in that boat of trusting the experts, like right now, we have to be our own experts. You have to understand what is truly going on in healthcare as a whole, and especially with you and your family's health, so you don't wind up in hands of the experts. Let's go to, so one thing that we got to really make clear of is we are not anti-doctor, anti-medication. Driving here, like if I got in a car accident and I had a bleeding out from my femoral artery, do not take me to Dr. Mike to adjust my back. Like that is, take me to the hospital, hook me up, like do whatever modern medicine you have to do to save my life, okay? Because when there is an emergency, we have the best emergency medical healthcare system in the world, okay? We have the best doctors, we have the best access, we take the most medications, we spend more money on our healthcare system than any other country in the history of mankind. That's good for emergencies. But if that system was also producing, if it was supposed to be producing health, then we would also expect there to be the healthiest population in the world. But the problem is, even though we spend $16,000 per person per year, we take 12 medications average per person in America, and we have 7 million anxiety and depression drugs taken per year, and that's a majority in adolescents. Like, if that's not producing health, then what are we doing? That is not working. The most medicated country on the scale of healthiest countries, number 1 being the healthiest, 50 being the least, we rank 37. So what you guys have to see is, hit the next slide there, is that you kind of have to stand alone on this. And not kind of, you have to stand alone on this because a lot of people aren't hearing these statistics or coming at it from this direction. If you're not looking at it logically, you'll assume, oh, when I get sick, when my kids have a fever, I go to the doctor and that's what gets them better. But when you just look at the stats and the research and the logic behind it, you're going to be kind of put on out of the majority, on an island, and that's okay. Because if you're in the majority, you should second guess where you're standing. So if 1 million people say a foolish thing, it is still a foolish thing. That's what we're talking about tonight. So this first Bamboozled is going to put you on the outskirts, but that's okay. You want to be on the outskirts of health if you're in America, because average is not good enough.
One stat that always shakes me is in the US, we make up 5% of the world's population. We take 85% of the world's medication, and we're ranked 37th. So obviously throwing more pills at something is not creating more health. Do you guys see that, right? Okay. Bamboozled number 2. The FDA approved means it is completely safe for you. True or false? Just because, oh man, this one we're gonna get a little bit deep in tonight because a lot of stuff came out very recently. Like I'm talking the last 2 weeks that we're gonna hit on in this section that I've added in. One thing I just want to say with this one is, like, again, just because this company is saying that it's safe and approved, what you want to look for in this world is who's funding it, who's getting paid. This is where you want to look for when this happens, right?
So this is where pattern recognition comes into play. If I went to my local Queen Creek Olive Garden 9 times, and 9 of those times I got food poisoning, like, would I expect to go back a 10th time and not get food poisoning? No. So we're going to go through some of them, still like old school stuff, but pattern recognitions of ways that we've been tricked in thinking things are healthy. The first one is largest criminal fine ever given in history until 2009 was Pfizer. The company that's supposed to be keeping Americans healthy was fined $2.3 billion because they were schmoozing doctors to prescribe their medications fraudulently. So if we see that, we got to know it's about money, not about health. There's a couple old ones. Cigarettes, okay? Lucky's, less irritating, it's toasted, it's great for your health. Smoke cigarettes for your throat health. More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Doctor's recommendation. Pretty crazy, right? Let's go on to some more. Toothache drops with cocaine. This is real. This is what used to be touted as healthy. Who remembers this? Running through clouds of DDT. What does DDT cause? Nervous system malfunction and muscle paralysis. This was at the same time that polio was going on. Okay? How about this? Do you have a sore throat or a cough? Try some heroin. Look at this. Bayer. Who knows what Bayer is in control of these days?
We got gifts.
I got a gift for you guys. I brought you guys gifts. I love you guys. So this is oh, hang on, go back. Bayer. Who knows what Bayer is? There's a company. What is that? Aspirin. Yes. Okay, there's a shirt for you. That's a Make Arizona Healthy shirt. So these companies are still around, but they were so far off the mark. How can we expect them to be on the mark now? Bayer also owns Monsanto, Roundup, glyphosate. Okay, this one's crazy. Radithor, certified radioactive water. Drink it for your health. Like, this is how far off we were when we looked at health. But to bring it up to the modern day, I've got a couple of withdrawn drugs to kind of show you guys. And I won't go through all of them, but raise your hand if you remember Zantac. Okay, Zantac was for acid reflux. Did you guys know that Zantac is no longer on the market? Some people know, some people have no idea. Yeah, it was withdrawn in 2020. Why? Because when you let it sit on the shelf or you had it often, it was having NDMA, which is a probable human carcinogen. Now, they tried walking this back and said, hey, no problem. It only causes cancer with lots of exposure. So everyone's probably fine because it just takes a lot of exposure. But wait a second. When someone is on an acid reflux medication or gastroesophageal reflux disorder, do they take the medication just once or do they take it daily for 15 years? Yeah, daily for 15 years. Mm-hmm. So Zantac, gone. Let's look at, you guys remember Vioxx? Okay, Vioxx was one of the largest drug withdrawals in history. It was touted as a miracle drug. It was a COX-2 inhibitor. So COX-2 enzyme that it inhibits decreased arthritis. Without that enzyme, inflammation. Inflammation would go down. So people's pain got way less. One problem. COX-2 enzymes also are responsible for thinning your blood. So strokes and heart attacks went through the roof. Hundreds of thousands of people died and had failure in their cardiovascular system. And the problem was, because this is not just an accident, this is you are being tricked on purpose for profit. The company, Merck, that made Vioxx knew about this and they suppressed it. And it took a whistleblower to bring it to the surface, and Merck was fined $5 billion, okay? And they paid that. One problem, they made $10 billion off the drug. So even though they were $5 billion down, they still netted $5 billion. Like, this is criminal. Let's do one more. Anybody remember Fen-Phen? Okay, this is semaglutide before it was cool. Like, this was weight loss drug, Ozempic, way back in the 90s, but the problem, it was causing heart attacks and heart valve damage. OxyContin, hundreds of thousands of deaths in the United States, suppressed the entire time. So, pattern recognition, if we know all of these drugs have been withdrawn because we were lied to, like, what makes us think that the next one is going to be the right one? Like, it's foolish. Hope that brings the point home.
It's good. There's a way that seems right to man, but in the end it leads to what? Here we go. How many people saw this thing come out recently? So basically all the avocado oil chips that you see that everyone was buying and spending lots of money on because we thought it was really healthy, UC Davis did a study. They tested 28 of the top avocado oil chips that are out there, and 26 failed. Meaning that all the Siete brands, the Sprouts brands, all of these brands of chips that are saying they have avocado oil because they're healthier, do not actually have avocado oil. They have a trace of it, and it's laced with safflower and canola oil, basically seed oils. This just came out big time. This is a huge thing right now going on. And then just to like add this on, so over here, so all the brands for like mayonnaise, 71% of the mayonnaises that are labeled avocado oil failed. 100% of the salad dressings that say avocado oil failed. Anybody else ticked off right now? Here's why this is mad. No, in all seriousness, there is multiple times when I would take you guys to Sprouts to do grocery shopping tours, and I would tell you, There are brands that you can trust. Look for this name because you know they are a healthy brand. And all this time, here's what happens. You have to be careful because big companies come in and buy little companies. And then I have a little inside scoop. So most of you guys know or heard of Alex Clark. Me and Alex Clark are really close. When this came out, I texted Alex and I said, hey, tell me the scoop on what's going on here. And she said that she's actually working with the state of Texas to sue the manufacturers for marketing because here's the problem. Right now, just so you guys know this, there's not any regulation over what can be labeled avocado oil. So when we say FDA has our back, there's no regulation on labeling for that. So they can put it on the package and you can think it is, and there can be completely full of seed oils. Isn't that frustrating? Even, here's what's again, this is what gets me so riled up. Even when you do your homework and you say, I know that avocado oil is a better oil than seed oil, you're still wrong because they're putting it on the label and it's not accurate. Is anybody else more ticked off now, right? This is so not good. Then, on top of all of that, here's what else just came out. Who uses Kerrygold butter? Anybody else? Here's what you've been told, that grass-fed butter is the good butter to buy. Yes? Kerrygold is in the middle of a lawsuit. Here's why. In the world of the FDA, there is not a current regulation on what can be labeled grass-fed. So here's what's funny. Somebody who is suing Kerrygold, because they're Ireland cows, what they found was that if you look at the country of Ireland, those cows realistically can only be outside about a third of the year because of the weather, or maybe it's half the year. So that means that there is a portion of the year they are inside consuming grains and soy and corn. And here's the thing, your cow can just eat a bunch of grass for a little bit of time and can be fed majority corn, and they can still put grass-fed on it. When this got brought to the judge, this case study, the judge literally said, he goes, it's foolish to have someone think that just because it says grass-fed, that it would be 100% grass-fed. Isn't that like, no, you should think that. If that's what the label says, it's safe to assume. And he's like, no. It's just partially grass-fed. This is the manipulation that we get when it comes to labeling. So again, these bigger ups who we are trusting to put accurate marketing on our food sources is big issues. So here's my take-home point for these two things. Go home and make your own mayonnaise. Go home and make your own butter. We're going to go back old school. We're going to go make our own stuff like back in the day. And it's actually cheaper and better when you do it. My wife and I, we started doing it, and it is way more affordable to do it yourself, and it's way easy. If you want advice or tips on how to do that, email me at drlucasmelendez.
Or just have Dr. Alana make your butter.
Yeah, she's got nothing going on right now. There's no newborn.
Well, I'm sure there's some of you in the room who have cows and do all that. Like, I don't. I have an HOA. But what we've done is we lean on patients. Maybe someone like the you patients who like, you guys grow your own eggs. So if you have people in your network that have raw milk, like I'm sure you guys have, connect with them. If you're in an apartment, like you don't have to just stay in the system. As close to how God created it is best. So that's what we do.
Okay, another big one. This was 2 weeks ago. Who has heard that the new mRNA flu vaccine that just got released a couple weeks ago? Anybody? Okay, you have to hear this. This was just a few weeks ago. FDA approved and pushed through a brand new flu vaccine that is an mRNA based. When I say mRNA, what does that make you think of? COVID vaccine. First of its kind, right? Now, here's the thing you need to hear about when it comes to an mRNA foundation is it downregulates your ability to fight cancer and it upregulates tumor-causing genes. This is why you saw a lot of really unhealthy things happen during COVID. I'm not going to go through all the symptoms, but a lot of the stuff from COVID just got leaked as well with Fauci's thing, and you can see that out there too. But with this specifically, when they did this, it was a 6-month test. They tested 40,000 people in this, okay? And what they found was that 66% of people had a negative reaction to the vaccine of some kind. That could have been soreness, it could have been nausea, it could have been headache, could have been some negative reaction to the vaccine, okay? But what's interesting, during that 40,000 people in 6 months, 10 people died from that shot. And what the FDA said was that it was an insignificant amount of deaths to not push it through. The reason they pushed this through was because they say the current flu shot is ineffective. So they wanted to push this through so we had a more effective flu shot, which later in this presentation, I'm going to demolish the flu shot all over again. But doesn't that already sound kind of ridiculous? Does anybody else hear the ridiculousness in this? You're risking death over the fact of saying, I'm going to have a headache and a stuffy nose for a couple weeks. There is so much silliness to what's going on. But more importantly, here's what I want you to hear. Again, pattern recognition is that people are looking at profit over people. There is a profit over people thing when it comes to this whole thing. So the FDA is pushing this thing through because they know they're going to make a lot more money on this new vaccine. And this is what's also funny. We work obviously right next to this Albertsons, right? And I was asking patients last year when the holidays come around, what gets marketed outside of Albertsons? Free what? Free flu shot. Go get your free flu shot. And I asked patients, I go, hey, why do you think they offer free flu shots? And they go, well, it's because they want us to be healthy during the holidays. And I go, you think so? I've never seen them go, hey, free vitamin D. Come get some free vitamin D. Never. Free protein powder. Never. If it's about health, they would give something healthy to you during the sick season, right? That's going to help you get better. I've never seen free vitamin C offered over there, but come get your free flu shot. In fact, they'll incentivize you. Here, we'll give you a free ice cream cone if you get your free flu shot. That's going to help your immune system, right? So when you start to look at this, you go, who is trying to sell me? And again, when you're communicating this to people, one of the things you want to think about is that there is somebody telling lies better than we are telling truths. Someone is telling lies much better than we are telling truths. If there was a more foundational truth being spread, then we would be awake and be able to see this stuff for what it actually is, okay? I'm gonna say this because I'm gonna hit this a lot harder in a little bit.
Yeah.
Good? Now, when it comes to our food, again, FDA recommends 5 servings of fruits and vegetables nutritionally, okay? When you look at food compared to today versus food compared to, what was it, like 1953. So 1 bowl of spinach, the nutrient value of 1 bowl of spinach in 1953, in today, you would have to eat 43 bowls of spinach to equivalent the same nutritional value. So, and you did a really good job actually.
Do you guys know why this is happening at all? If I could explain really quick, it's from how we've started farming since then is big monoculture crops, agriculture. So let's say you're a potato farmer in Idaho and you are growing potatoes, but you got a bunch of different varieties, but McDonald's comes to you and says, hey, we are looking for French fries to be this flavor, this long, this shape, and that means we need X amount of russet potatoes every month. So now your livelihood is dependent upon how many russet potatoes you can grow, and that's it. Instead of cycling through different varieties and different crops that add in different minerals back into the soil, you are now stripping the same minerals and the same micronutrients away because that's the incentive. So what happens is we are now left with soil health that has been degraded in things like manganese, zinc, selenium, all these trace iron. It's specifically iron that's going to be massively reduced in spinach these days, which is one of the very common deficiencies in young women. But so when you have someone saying like, oh, I eat healthy just like my grandma did, so I don't need to take any supplementation, but then you look at blood labs and you're deficient, the reason is not because your diet is necessarily lacking or unclean, it's because the level of our soil has been degraded. So this is where it becomes very important, the food you're eating to be regenerative. Farming, which is usually smaller scale and more expensive, but you're getting a better bang for your buck. And if you're not taking a supplement, like you should really look at, especially some sort of green supplement or protein, because it's just very tough to get all those nutrition levels there.
When we start looking at like this side of it with fruits and veggies and things, you know, most people understand when you talk about counting macros, but when you say counting micros, most people don't know what the heck you're talking about. The micronutrients you're getting from fruits and vegetables, that's where most of us are very deficient because we're not eating enough, right? So one of the
Yeah.
things, if you guys have never seen this, or most of us have seen a greens powder of some kind, but most people don't like them because it tastes like you're eating a glass of dirt, right? It's disgusting. Um, well, the one thing I will say, ours is actually really good, and it's one scoop of your greens powder is your equivalent micronutrient dosage of the day. And I did this as a fun experiment one time, but years ago we had a patient. I gave like 11 servings of fruits and vegetables, and we had a timer, and it was a contest. And I said, okay, ready, set, go. And he was trying to eat all the servings of fruits and vegetables, and I had my Max Green scooper with my shaker bottle, and I just poured it in. I drank it in 5 seconds, and I got my servings in. And the reality is that if you're like me, most of you don't have time to sit down and have this all day long, and we're deficient. So I think there's some areas where we need to supplement, right? So if you're not taking a greens powder or you're not getting enough in, this is where I would say we would take advantage and grab something that's going to help you out, because all of the stuff back there that says pure path, to his point, Max Living has a massive regenerative farm in Tennessee that this comes from. So all of the greens from these powders are coming from a regenerative farmland, so you know it's good. Excuse me, you know it's good.
Can I
I'll
touch
leave
on
it there.
something
Oh
really
yeah,
quick? So this is huge right now with weight loss, and I'll make it make sense. One of the biggest foundations to how Dr. Mike, I'm sure you guys know, approaches the body is from the approach that the body is smart. Can we agree? Like, it's designed intelligently. Your body is designed to heal. It knows everything going on at once. So do you think an intelligent body, if it was having calories in, but its nutritional density that it was getting was low, so your brain was lacking minerals, do you see how an intelligent body would want to eat more? Like, the hunger drive would go up. Even though calories are sufficient, you would say, hey, I still need to eat food because I'm not getting what I need. That is a big part of what's happening today in the obesity epidemic. And you'll see it in kids. It's a pica. So when kids are deficient in iron or minerals, they'll start licking the walls or like chewing on rocks.
is that his problem?
Yeah,
Like,
Grayson.
yeah. I was like, why is he always eating dirt?
So, but that's because kids, their body is trying to get minerals. So if you look at a picture of the beach in the 1960s or 70s, you won't see much obesity going on. Could that be because the nutritional density of the food was normal? Like, now we have so much free energy and calories, but the density and the quality of the nutrition is terrible. So you will notice hunger drive go down if you have a deficiency in minerals that you rectify with supplementation.
It's good. All right, bamboozled
Oh,
number
boy.
3. Pregnancy is a disease condition. True or false?
Unless Mike is pregnant, then it is a disease.
Then it's a
condition.
problem. I look a little pregnant. If this is one that I know this one is kind of funny because there's 2 dudes up here talking about the pregnancy section, but between the 2 of us, we have 9 children, so I think we have a little bit of ground to speak.
A little bit.
Now, here's where what got me passionate about this section is we obviously just had our 4th baby, and watching my wife go through pregnancy and watching my children now being old enough to see her go through pregnancy, the way we could communicate pregnancy to them and create a godly vision of what pregnancy is and how beautiful everything about this is so different than what is getting portrayed to young women today. I asked in preparation, I literally asked a lot of my younger women patients, like, hey, what are some of your thoughts or things you've been taught about pregnancy? And I'm being dead serious. This is some of the things that they would say. It's like, oh, it's kind of like this little parasite inside of you just leaching all of your minerals away, and that's why you always feel nauseous, and that's why you're always sick, and I don't want to be a part of that. And this is what's getting instilled somewhere. Somewhere, somehow, little girls have this distorted, ungodly view of pregnancy. And for us, not only do we want to create a clear, wonderful picture of what this looks like, but also when you are pregnant and we're going through, right now, it's not looked at as like your body was created for this as a woman. Like God designed you for this. You don't need help. Your body knows exactly what to do. But we think as, again, man thinks we know best, and we're going to come in and say, nope, you need to be monitored every single little way across the way. We need to measure this baby and make sure, and we're going to put all this stuff in your head. And you're like, why? No, you don't. We've been having babies for thousands of years and never had people like monitoring every little thing, you know? And one of the things I want you guys to think about this little acronym really fast, because this is one of the things that's helpful in the grand scheme of this. But the acronym BRAIN, whenever you're thinking about making a decision, one of the things I want you to think about is B would be, what's the benefit? How would this benefit me? R would be, what's the risk if I do this? A would be, what's an alternative? Is there any alternative to me not doing what you're saying? And then I would be, what does my intuition say? I think I'm gonna use most women have very good intuition. You have like the mama instinct, like you have very good spiritual discernment that says this is a good thing or I don't feel good about this. You should listen to that. There's something special about listening to that. And then N would be, if I do nothing, what happens if I do nothing? And most of the time, doctors don't like it when you ask that, because the answer is like, you'd probably be just fine.
Yeah.
But you're not doing what they want, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Any moms pregnant in here right now? Yes? Can I give you a shirt? Congratulations, Mom. There you go. Yes. Okay. So, one thing, well, no. What I want to talk about right now are C-sections. And just like I said, we're not anti-drug or anti-doctor. Mm-hmm. C-sections are not bad. C-sections have saved thousands of lives. However, we've misused them in our country. We've leaned on them too heavily, and there are consequences that are happening in this office and in my office that we hear every single week. And I want to illuminate you guys to that, because if that can change the trajectory of one life, it's worth it. This is one of the song and dances that we hear multiple times a week. So here we go. C-sections are supposed to be for emergency, high-risk pregnancy. So you would think if demographics like a developed nations across the board, it should be the same. Okay? Iceland, 14% of the population has C-section. Norway, 16. Netherlands, 16. The United States doubled at 32 to 33%. We have to understand why this is happening. So, it's a process, and I'm going to walk you guys through this. It's a process called the intervention cascade, and some of you might have lived through this as mothers. Some of you might have been around this with seeing loved ones go through this, but this is the path, okay? So number one, we start healthy pregnancy. Everything's going fine, okay? Number two, due date happens or something happens and the doctor or the mom says, hey, let's elect to induce you. How do they induce a pregnancy? What do they give moms? Pitocin. You guys familiar? So Pitocin. So typically, normal contractions are rhythmic and wave-like to move that baby down and engage and cause softening of the cervix and opening. Pitocin is strong. Everything happens at once. It's painful. But mom's doing it. Pitocin is there. Stronger contractions. Pain goes up. Mom's getting tired. She says, hey, I can't do this for much longer. The doctor says, no problem. We can take the pain away with what? Epidural. So an epidural is given. Now you can't feel from the legs down. So you don't feel the pain, but now the mom is stuck on her back. She can't move. She can't feel the natural cues of her body preparing for a contraction. So labor stalls. Have you guys heard this before? So the body says, hey, or the doctor says, let's give more Pitocin to ramp this back up because we've been going at this for 24 hours and baby's still not here. So Pitocin goes up, pain goes up again if the epidural is wearing off, or baby goes into distress. So the doctor said, hey, the baby is in distress. We need to get this baby out. C-section, vacuum, forceps, delivery. That is why we have so many C-sections in our country. Because the problem, if you look at it, the root cause is not the C-section itself. The problem is here. Impatience, elective induction, us thinking, hey, the body doesn't know best. The doctors know best. hey, your due date was yesterday, which means based on our schedule, you should have had this baby by now, and it's a Friday, so let's have this baby this weekend. Like, this is what we see over and over and over again. So when you look at the comparison between countries, Iceland, Norway, Netherlands, there's some big statistical differences or even philosophical differences. Birth is viewed as a normal physiological process until proven otherwise. That's where we want. That's where we're trying to dismantle pregnancy as a disease. But this is the most important. If mother and baby are doing well, labor may simply need more time. So when Mike said, hey, doctors don't like it if you don't do anything, because oftentimes that's exactly what you need, that's what we see in birth all the time. But in America, it's different. We have schedules, we have management. Also, our financial incentives are set up to where if the hospital can perform a C-section, you can bill and get paid for double the amount. So the incentives are aligned against. Yeah,
just to that point though, here's what happens. The reason why they want to schedule C-sections is because they know if you go into labor, that labor could be God knows how many hours, right? It's unknown. If they do a C-section, they know exactly how long that C-section takes, and they can stack those C-sections back to back to back.
Yeah. Has anybody seen a C-section? So we used to show a video. It's pretty intense, so we won't show it now. But what happens is sometimes the baby will have to be pulled and lifted out of the mom. Not just like scooping like ravioli out of a bowl, but like trying to dig in there and get the baby out. And the videos that we see and the reports that we hear is they'll pull up to 80 pounds of force on the baby's head and they'll have to pull and twist. And so that's putting a ton of pressure on the neck. And then they'll hand you the baby and they'll say, hey, here's your newborn baby. Make sure you support the what? The head and the neck. So when we see kids with torticollis or colic or, not pooping or not feeding on both sides normally, we say, hey, mom, did you have a C-section? Not as a judgment thing, but just did that happen? And oftentimes the second bone in the neck, C2, is massively rotated and all it takes is just an adjustment and that baby's right on track. But how many babies go through that process without anybody checking their neck? Every single day. Yep. Every single day. So let's talk about innate intelligence and how amazing the body is.
Real quick, just to piggyback one more time on patience and trusting the body. You guys walked this journey with me this time right now. My wife was 10 days past her due date. Like 10 days past her due date, it gets a little bit rocky, right? And her body naturally went into labor on day 10, had a 2-hour labor at home, all easy. Again, it was when her body was ready to have that baby. We're patient and we say, I'm not stuck to the due date, I'm stuck to God's date. God knows when that baby is ready to come. I don't care what any doctor or person thinks, like we're trusting her body to know. Does that make sense? So just whether it's you or again, your people that you're communicating to when you leave here, we want to help and educate other moms that no, trust your body. Trust your body, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is another reason why you trust your body. So what this is, if you look at the date, it's kind of hard to see. This is a bag of breast milk that a mother pumped on February 11th. And then this is a bag that she pumped the very next day, February 12th. Can anybody tell me why they think this milk one day later is so much more yellow? Say it again? A lot. Why would there be more colostrum in the milk? Boom. Okay, here's what happens. This is why when doctors are trying to tell moms, or doctors, aka Bill Gates, Dr. Bill Gates, here's what they're trying to say, that you should formula feed your kid, that it's better. They're saying it's better to formula feed your kid than to give breast milk. And what they were trying to promote is that formula is better because they can artificially give all the right nutrients into the formula that the baby needs. Here's why I think that's a load of cow dung, is that when you think about this, the body will always know best. Your body as a woman will always know best. And here's what happens. The moment you nurse and the baby latches on, when the baby's saliva reaches the nipple, the mammillary glands in the breast will pick that up. Anytime the baby is sick, if there's a virus or bacteria or if there's something the baby's fighting, your body picks it up and then it starts to produce the right antigens the baby needs and it puts it in the milk. How good is God? No, nothing ever will you see around that's going to be better than that.
Mhm.
Meaning that this is why when a baby is sick, we always tell nurse your baby as much as you can, because that your baby's going to get every bit of antigen that it needs and the right amount. It's perfect amount. You don't have to measure nothing. You just latch them on and it's the right amount because God knows. So what you're seeing is the difference in the body's responding to that immune system. Now, just so you know, you don't have to worry about this because he tried really hard to push this artificial milk and it went bankrupt and it went out. So it's gone. But again, pattern recognition. When you see doctors trying to tell you, oh, your baby looks too light, you should add formula, this and that, you should do that, you tell them to take a walk because your body knows exactly what the baby needs.
Does anybody remember when they used to not recommend breastfeeding for moms, like back in the 80s, I think? Anybody remember that? It was the same time when they said, hey, animal fat is bad. You should use these new lab oils like Crisco and seed oils. It was a big pushback against nature. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I'm really going to get this one. Here we go. So this was an article from the Journal of Pediatrics in 2016. Okay? If you guys can't read it, it says, breastfeeding isn't natural and it makes moms anti-vaxxers. This was the article head. You guys ready to get fired up with me? Here we go. This is what the article says. Oh my gosh. It says, okay, American Academy of Pediatrics is telling health professionals to stop describing breastfeeding as, in quotes, natural. It could lead parents down the path of alternative medicine. Heaven forbid they go see a chiropractor or anything aside from the doctor. Homeschooling or becoming an anti-vaccinationer. Heaven forbid you homeschool your parent or your kid and you like enforce good stuff in there. Heaven forbid. And it's saying that these are a homeschool kid could come from you breastfeeding your kid. Come on. Now go down a little bit more. This is where it gets good. Studies have shown that anti-vaccination sentiments tend to overlap with reliance on and interest in complementary and alternative medicine. Get this, skepticism of institutional authority, which means guess what? You're questioning doctors. You're questioning the system. Heaven forbid you question them. God forbid, right? If you've ever been in that situation, you've questioned the doctor, what do? You get lashed at real hard, right? Don't question them. Then it goes, oh, and then it says this, literally says, and healthy living practices. Don't you dare live healthy. Follow what we say. If doing what is natural is best in the case of breastfeeding, how can we expect mothers to ignore the worldview and making other choices like vaccinating? This is where this gets so wild, is that I think just when we see this, to us, I'm hoping that you see the absurdity in this, right? But the problem is that when we're out there, it's very easy for somebody who is very naive and trusts the system, they trust the experts, to see that and go, oh, maybe I shouldn't breastfeed my kid because that's going to put me as a label of something not good. And you go, heaven forbid you do more natural approaches. Yes, ultimately it would be great to have a more natural approach to all of this. But when we start seeing this from the Academy of Pediatrics, you go, kid, looking at who are we listening to, be careful who you listen to.
What was that verse you said at the beginning?
There's a way that seems right to man, but in the end it leads to what? Gosh.
How upside down is that?
Come on.
This is the same American Academy of Pediatrics also that is recommending the Ozempic and Wegovy shots for 12-year-olds.
Yes.
Same group.
Yeah.
Should you trust institutional authorities? Like, oh my gosh.
God.
Insane.
Yes. Okay. Bamboozled number 4. Your genes determine your destiny. True or false? False. You guys are A players already. If I had $1 for every time I heard someone say, oh, well, Dr. Mike, you don't understand. My mom has it, so it runs in my family, therefore I'm going to have it. How many times do you hear that from people that you know, right? Like all of us have heard that. And I'll just say this. In my family specifically, on my dad's side, if I trace it back, every single person on my dad's side has either died from heart disease, stroke, or some type of cardiovascular issue. Everything is heart related on my dad's side. And I remember when my dad had his heart attack, you guys know my story. When my dad had his heart attack, I was in my 20s, and the doctor looked at me and said, "Hey, if this runs in your family, that means that you're going to have a heart attack one day too. It would be a good idea for you to get on some preventative statin medication."
Yeah.
And
Like a vitamin, Dr. Mike.
like it's like a vitamin, right? Basically. And I just remember thinking, listen, I see a pattern recognition in all of the men and women in my dad's side of the family, how they lived, their lifestyle. And I said, I'm just going to choose not to live that way. And I'm going to choose to live this way. And when you can live differently, your genes do not make that up. Now, there is, again, you are given a genetic makeup, right? So the way that we say this is that your genes load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. All of us do have a genetic kind of download that we get, but we're going to get into a concept here in a minute on how you can alter the expression of those genes, right?
Yeah. The key takeaway that I want you guys to have up front is genetics predispose, they do not predetermine. Even in some of the most advanced stuff. And I'm going to show you the research why. But here's the belief system that we've been given. This is why they mapped the human genome in the 2000s, because they thought the key to underlying health, if we can just find out the genes that are causing people to be sick and unhealthy, and we can switch them and change them with the CRISPR technology, then we've got health. And so what they showed, what they thought, was that you got your genes, the genes express your biology, and how you express biology is what we call your health outcomes. This is called genetic determinism, and if this is true, that means you are a victim. You are a victim to whatever cards you've been dealt in life, and there's nothing you can do about it. And now, while the cards you are dealt matter, it is way more important in how you play the game. So let's go over a couple of studies here. Let me see this. Or actually, you go through this.
Just real quick, yeah. Real quick, why they want you to have that belief is because if I tell you that there's nothing you can do about it, that because this is in your family line, you're going to have it, if I strip all hope away from you, then now you are fully reliant on whatever that doctor says, because now you're at the mercy of them, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Does that make sense? This is why they want the belief system in there.
Yep.
Now, I've shown this picture before. Some of you have already seen it, but what you're looking at, obviously you guys recognize Arnold Schwarzenegger. These are both of his sons from the same mom. When they were young, this son was raised by Arnold. Mom and Arnold split up. This son was raised by his mother. Same genes, same DNA, same makeup, very different health outcomes for these boys. This is an example that you can take two people, have the exact same genetic expression, raise them in two different homes, very different health outcomes. Do you guys see that? Very different. My sister and me, very different health outcomes. When I was little, I was raised by my dad. My sister was raised by my mom. Very different health outcomes. And again, what you do changes this. So there's a concept called epigenetics. Epigenetics is how you turn on and turn off your gene expression, which means if my dad had heart disease because he sat around and didn't exercise and he smoked and he drank and he ate lots of processed foods, that's a recipe for heart disease, right? If I choose not to do that and I put none of that in my body and I work really hard, then I'm going to have a very different outcome. Do you see that?
And this is what the research backs up.
Yes.
Because you take this to the nth degree and you say, okay, that's great anecdote, but what about identical genomes? What about kids who are raised in the same home? Like, we would surely expect them to have the same health outcomes if they have the same exact genes. Well, they've done twin studies. And this is a study of almost 3,000 pairs of twins, okay? And they looked at longevity. So how long, overall mortality, how long did they live? And a lot of these kids were raised in the same home. And what they found is this: how long you live is influenced by your genes, but the part that matters most is your unique lifestyle. So just like Mike just said, the environment and your lifestyle matters most, but even in the case where you were raised in a home with brothers and sisters and parents that may have not been the most healthy or were healthy, over the lifespan that you have, it matters is from what point you had your unique lifestyle. So once you left the home, that's what matters most. okay? Overall mortality. So this is great, but what about bigger issues? Things that we've told are just fully genetic roulette of things like cancer. So they looked at it. This is in Sweden. 44,000 pairs of twins, and they looked at cancer rates. And they found really two things, okay? Conclusion, genes play a minor role while environment plays the principal role. And the second thing they found looking at twins and cancer, we have major gaps in our understanding of cancer. They realize we don't know how this works. There's a system well above genetics that we now call epigenetics that is turning genes on and off. So this is a message of hope, because what this shows, even for things like cancer, if you have the BRCAA gene for breast cancer, you don't have to have the Angelina Jolie effect, or if you have APOE4 for Alzheimer's. That doesn't mean you're just destined to have Alzheimer's. You can change these things. It just has to happen now. So that's a message of hope for genetics.
Good. All right, number 5. The flu shot is safe and effective. True or false? Oh, buckle up. Here we go. Okay, flu shot. This graph here, this is looking at from 2009 to 2019, and it's measuring the overall effectiveness. So at the end of the year, doctors come together and they actually look at how effective was the flu shot this year, okay? What they found is that I averaged this out just so you guys, on average, it's about 42% on average is how effective the flu shot is every year. Because I'm sure you guys know that every year what they do, it's a gamble. They guess what the strain's going to be, and they put that in, and they're hoping that this is the right one. We hope we picked right. Some years it's better than others. It was 19% in 2015. I tried looking up numbers. Can anybody wonder why the graph stops right before 2020? Because what happened when COVID happened? COVID cured the flu. There was no flu during the COVID seasons. Everything was COVID. The flu just went away, and everyone just got COVID vaccines, and everything was good. Here's what happened though. We're in 2026. In 2025, I found this. 2025, can anybody guess the percentage of effectiveness the flu shot was last year?
It was like negative, wasn't it?
It should have been. 14%. It was 14% effective last year. Let me ask you guys this question. I'm going to get into the how bad this could be side effect wise, but if I was your mechanic and you brought your car to me to fix it, make it safe for your drive, and you said, "Hey, how successful is this going to be?" And I said, "About 40%." Would you pay me to do this job? Gosh, no, right? Here's the problem. We're going in there, anchoring up for this jab, knowing that it's got about a 40% success rate. Last year, 14. And then here's the other thing. What this graph here is showing, there's something called the VAERS. It's the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, which basically means if you get a vaccine and if you have a negative side effect, you can report it to the system, and then some of those will go through a trial and go into a judge, and you can see if you can actually make it deemed that there was something actually connected, right? Well, in this, of the top 11 that this is measuring, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these were adverse reactions from flu vaccines, okay? If we go through some of this stuff, we have tachycardia, vaccine. This one was actually stroke and death. The flu shot was linked to stroke and death. And by the way, when I say this is a little bit tough to wrap around. When I say the cause over here or the injury, the fact that it's on this chart means that it went to a judge and the judge ruled it, yes, you win. I am deeming that this was connected, and this cause, whatever you're seeing, this was the outcome, right? So when this is saying stroke and death, this was proven that, yes, it was from the vaccine. Then we go to bullous dermatitis. Has anybody ever seen someone with bullous dermatitis? It is the most horrible thing. It's like the modern day leprosy. It is horrible to see this on somebody. Then you go to dermatitis, and then down here, we have something called GBS. Stands for Guillain-Barré syndrome. Horrible nervous system condition that you can get from the flu vaccine. Once again, these are effects that the body is getting. So then we go and say, is it effective? And then what happens from here? Then I go into saying, I just decided let's trust the people and let's go to the CDC and say, what are they saying about the flu vaccine? So if you go to the CDC, this is literally a screenshot from their website. You can see the URL. I was looking to see, what do they say? It says, can I get the flu from the flu vaccine? No. The flu vaccine does not cause the flu. Who here has gotten a flu vaccine and still got the flu? Or you've known somebody who's gotten the flu vaccine and then you get the flu? Yes. So that's a lie. Then you go down. Do flu vaccines have any side effects? Let's read them. Common side effects: soreness, redness, swelling, headache, fever, nausea, muscle aches. It sounds like the flu.
Sounds like the flu.
I'm like, interesting. So those are common side effects. And then if you come down a little here, studies have also found in small cases the flu vaccine is associated with Guillain-Barré syndrome. Literally, they have it on the CDC website. It's on there. Then you come up, and I asked for long-term side effects. I was looking up, do they have any long-term side effects? And what's interesting, again, you'll see Guillain-Barré syndrome, but the other one was permanent shoulder injuries. 3 years ago, I had a patient come in, and I was seeing her for a while. All of a sudden, it was like her right arm was just paralyzed. And I was like, what in the world happened? And she's like, I got my flu shot yesterday, and her arm just literally stopped functioning. And it was so weird. She went back to the doctor, and they go, no, that's not possible. It couldn't be connected. She's like, you injected it. I went home, went to bed. I woke up, and it does not function. I did nothing else. And this is like, they have it on there because this is a possible thing, is that you can have paralysis of the extremity. All again, at the expense of trying to just save the sniffles for a week. Yeah. I would rather get the flu. Like, give me the flu, right? Then, now we go back into like, what is in a flu shot? In case you're wondering, like, here's why I think this is so important. I really want you to like think about this concept, is I think a lot of us are really aware of the food we buy, right? We go, hey, if I'm gonna go buy something from the store, let me look and see the ingredients of what I'm buying so I know what I'm putting in my body. If someone were to say, hey, if you had a little child and they said, hey, can I give them this? You would be like, well, let me see what's in that before you give it to my child, right? How many of us look to see what's in the flu vaccine before you inject this into your body? Most of us don't look at it. Let's look at it. First things first, they have preservatives in there like thimerosal, which contains mercury, which again is still in some. They've taken it out of some, but they are still in some of the vaccines. Then you look at stabilizers like MSG. If I told you that your lunch had MSG, how many of you would eat it? No, but you know this is in the vial. Then you look at antibiotics. They put antibiotics inside there. And then you look at polysorbate 80. This is the emulsifier. Polysorbate 80 is a gut lining thinner, aka gut. Polysorbate 80 leads to things like leaky gut syndrome, digestive dysfunction. If you know people who have this, it's terrible. But this is a direct connection here. And then you look at formaldehyde. Who knows what formaldehyde is? What do you use that for?
Embalming.
Let's put that in your body. That's good. Let's throw that in there. Why not? Add it to the list.
Anti-aging.
The anti-aging, there you go. It'll hold. It'll hold.
What's happening?
There you go. So when you start to think about this, the thing I always ask people when it comes to the flu vaccine is this: what's in it? Is it helpful? Is it going to do its job? And is it safe? And the reality is the answer is no to everything, right? So the concept comes down, you are much better off building an immune system. So you go over that brain analogy. The question is like, what do you do then? If you say, Dr. Mike, if you don't want me to get the flu vaccine, what do I do? Let's actually support your immune system. When in October, Dr. Ellie and I are going to do a whole entire seminar on healthy for the holidays. How do you support your immune system the right way? How do you actually keep yourself healthy during this flu season? And I'm going to talk about all of that. How do you support yourself? Okay, we'll get there. All right, next one. Here's the fun. Vaccines have saved us from measles and scarlet fever. True or false? A lot quieter. Let's go to the research. So, by the way, before I forget, this chart is coming from learntherisk.org. We are so grateful. Tina is here back there from learntherisk.org. So what I want you guys to do, give her, please. Very, very grateful. I'm not going to spend a huge time getting into the nitty-gritty of this, but what I want you guys to do is become educated, right? they are a very good source to just educate yourself so you understand. So I would go back there when we're done and I would utilize the resources that they have and then just help yourself become knowledgeable. But really specifically, we're just going to hit these two, just these two. And just if we look at this. So this graph is basically looking at tracking the measles from the 1900s all the way to 1963. So the green line is the measles, okay? So if you follow this, the green line, here's your measles, kind of was going up and down and up and down. But then right about 1930s, you start to see things start to come down. And then it's almost non-existent, pretty much gone. And then all of a sudden in 1963, guess what gets introduced? The measles vaccine. Measles was pretty much extinct before the measles vaccine was even came out. But guess what got all the credit? Measles vaccine. Does anybody know why the measles went away before the measles vaccine was even introduced? Sanitation and nutrition. Because back then we had horses going down the streets, pooping in the streets, and there was like very, very poor sanitation back then, and we were very sick overall, and there was very poor like nourishment in certain areas. But then when that started to get cleaned up and we were getting better, people got healthier, and that went away. But this got the credit. How many people remember getting their scarlet fever vaccine? Anybody? Watch this. Scarlet fever. Here it comes. Goes up, goes down, comes down. Scarlet fever pretty much goes down, down, down. Same thing. About, we'll say 1950. Scarlet fever is gone. There was never a scarlet fever vaccine invented. To this day, there does not exist a scarlet fever vaccine. But yet we were told that there is a vaccine that came out and that you were vaccinated for it and that it cured scarlet fever. But you can look this up. There does not exist a vaccine for scarlet fever. There never has been. We've been manipulated and lied to about some of these things. Again, all the credit is going to something when it shouldn't have.
Yeah, public health was the winner there, and pharma took the credit. Because what they did is they tried to make the scarlet fever vaccine, and they couldn't get it right. They couldn't have a mounted antibody response, and it just went away on its own. And you can bet for dang sure that if the same thing happened with the measles vaccine, there wouldn't be anything about it. Like, oh, measles just kind of went away, whatever. But because they had a vaccine, they had to make it say, oh my gosh, this is what saved us from the terrible thing that is measles. So yeah, it was going away on its own. Let's talk about this. So when we talked about at the beginning, this is going to be huge for some of you, about how to communicate logically, without emotion, to loved ones or even to yourself, of why this stuff matters and why we need to take a harder look at vaccines today than we did years ago. Back in the day, before 1986, there wasn't many vaccines. There were several, and then the vaccine companies were going out of business because people were suing them, because they were linking them to their kids getting sick and ill. So the vaccine companies said to Congress, hey, we will stop making vaccines because they are no longer profitable, okay? So here's what happened. Imagine you have a business and you are selling a product. It is your financial incentive to make a safe product. Why? Because if you make an unsafe product, you can be sued for everything you've got, and now you are not financially profitable. So you want to make a safe product. Now imagine you have a business that you don't get sued for your product. You can sell products all day long, but there's no way the consumer can come back to you and say, this hurt me.
Full protection, full immunity.
Full immunity, and now there is no financial incentive for you to make a safe product. Because not only can you not get sued, but it costs money to run the safety tests to prove that your product is safe. So if you had a product with zero liability and only upside with the government pushing your product on people, would you make a lot of that product? Heck yes, and this is not a good versus evil. This is just business. This is economics. Companies are designed to make a profit. So here's what happens. In 1986, vaccine companies come to Congress and they say, hey, we are getting sued our pants off We need liability protection. Congress said, okay, you can now no longer get sued. They have to go to the vaccine court, same chart that you just saw with the flu, and they'll sue that court, but you have immunity. What do you think happened to the number of vaccines? They skyrocketed. Top picture is before immune from liability. Bottom picture is 2025. It's a business, guys. It's not about your health. It is about profit. That's what all this is for. Like, this is not even getting into anything other incentives, just financial incentives, how much money can be made with each of these shots forced on you or recommended by the CDC, because there's no suing possible.
This is interesting. Raise your hand real quick if you are older than 35 years old. Keep them up for a second. You compare today to back in your day, you know that you have had fewer vaccines in your lifetime than the average 6-month-old baby. The average 6-month-old baby will have more vaccines than you have had in your entire life. This is how much it's gone. It's gone from, I want to say it's gone from like 12 when you guys were growing up to now the average kid on a schedule is 79 doses of vaccines. This number is not okay. So when you look at what is in them and the quantity that is going in them, this is where you see a lot of problems. And as a parent, the reason why it doesn't seem like it's that much when you're doing it is because at some check-ins, your kid can get somewhere between 4 to 6 vaccines in one syringe at a time, which is why you're like, no, they just had one shot. They double those things down quite a bit. Yeah. Okay. So once again, the take-home point is do your homework, reach out to people, talk, listen. Now, one of the books that I really like is Turtles All the Way Down. And then this vaccine book over here, these are two like easy, well, this is an easy read. That's a thick read. But that one's going to go over, like, it's almost irrefutable when you read that one. So if you're okay to read, that one's dense.
The cool thing about this book is you'll notice it says a foreword and edited by. I think this is still true. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no authors listed. It's because the vaccine topic is so hot and emotional, the author said, hey, if we put our names in there, people are going to try and discredit our information based off of who we are. So we're going to forego the credit of writing this book, which is a massive resource and tool, so that it can reach more people. Mm-hmm. The side that is trying to get the truth to people is made up of moms and people like that who are saying, I don't care about me, I care about the truth.
Yeah. Obviously, learntherisk.org, massive resource. So go find them. If you want more resources than this, like if you like podcasts or you like documentaries, come find me later or come find us after, and I'll give you access to really good podcasts or documentaries that will go into that. But there's a lot of good resources out there.
So wouldn't it be great if we had a study that showed the health of kids, unvaccinated versus vaccinated? We do, okay? So I'm not going to read all this, but it's comparing fully vaccinated kids with unvaccinated kids. Allergic rhinitis, higher in vaccinated, 10% versus 0.4%. Allergies, 22% versus 7%. Eczema, 9% versus 3%. Learning disabilities, ADHD, neurodevelopmental disorder. Spectrum disorders, guys, 10.5% to 3%. When you start messing with the immune system, getting 4 doses at once, or we've had patients who take their kids to get their immunizations and they'll get double because there was a mix-up in the paperwork, like that throws the immune system for a tailspin. And we call it the perfect storm, and it can cause all sorts of damage. And now the research shows that.
Here we go. Number 7. We're almost there, by the way. There's only 8 bamboozles. Number 7. The fever means you are sick. True or false? Ooh, good. Here's the thing. If you get a virus or if your body is exposed to something and your body naturally heats up, God designed it to heat up to kill that thing, does it make sense that we should try to stop the heating up process? There's a way that seems right to man, but in the end, it leads to. This is what we see. When you think about it logically, you go, if my body naturally is heating up, why am I stopping that? Why am I going against the grain? Now, this is Lucas's
I love this stuff.
bread and butter. He's going to destroy this because as a parent, or even if you don't have kids, if you know people who have kids, or again, if you get a fever, this is such gold right now.
So this is huge for moms or any grandparents who have kids. Like, this is probably one of the most common things we get as chiropractors. Like, hey, my kid has a fever. What do I do? So this echoes in the foundation of whether you believe the body is intelligently designed and is smart and working for you or against you. This is everything. The website that I'm about to show is not a chiropractic website. It's the Seattle Children's Hospital. So this is not chiropractic mumbo jumbo. These are medical doctors, and I'm going to show you some things. So for moms, if you want to write stuff down, this is going to be fuel for you and friends and loved ones. So just a couple of myths versus facts. Number one, all fevers are bad for children. Of course, no, they help the body fight infection, okay? Myth number two, fevers higher than 104 are dangerous and they can cause brain damage. This is the most common concern we hear from moms. Hey, I love the body, I love chiropractic, I know the body can heal itself, but I don't want my kid to have brain damage. Well, what does the science say? I want you guys to guess, unless you already saw it, how high they say a fever can get before it's dangerous. Can anybody just yell out a number? Please? Huh? What? 101 higher. Not higher than 112. What? Who said 108? 108! Only temperatures higher than 108 can cause brain damage. Mike, have you ever seen a fever at 108?
Never.
Never. So that doesn't happen. The highest that I've seen in my office is 106. My daughter got to 105 for a little bit, but it's usually a flash in the pan, and then it comes down, okay? But this shows, like, it's not going to cause brain damage. This is huge for moms to calm the anxiety of, oh my gosh, I want to be a good parent. This is what the literature shows. Without treatment, fevers will keep going higher. But you don't understand, doc. My kid's at 102, yesterday at 101, like, it's just going to keep going. The brain knows when the body is too hot. That kind of sounds like chiropractic. Like the body knows what it's doing, okay? Another myth, once the fever comes down with medicines, it should stay down. Hey, you know what, doc? Like the kid, I just had to bring it down with Tylenol and now it's going to be good, right? No. When the fever medicine wears off, the fever will come back. It may be needed to be treated again. The fever will go away and not return once the body overpowers the virus. The fever is doing its job. If we interfere with it, now we've prolonged healing. And this is important because we're going to come back to one of the massive dangers with this myth here. And last, the biggest myth, the biggest concern, seizures with fever are harmful. I have personal experience with this. Nephews, patients, fever goes up, kid has a seizure. It's terrifying to watch. If you're a parent who has a child who's had seizures, it is terrifying to watch. I talk to patients who are firefighters and it freaks them out. But what the studies show, they stop within 5 minutes. They don't cause any permanent harm. They don't increase the risk for speech delays, learning problems, or seizures without fever. So it's not going to increase risk of epilepsy. It's a nervous system reset. It's like hitting the Control-Alt-Delete on the computer. After this happens is when you see kids go through developmental leaps, going from nonverbal to verbal, going from crawling to walking, like different things we don't see in the body. It's a nervous system reset. Innate intelligence is still on the job. So, like I said, they're sounding like chiropractors because this is chiropractic. Chiropractic is a philosophy that's built on 33 principles. The 25th principle is this: the forces of innate intelligence, meaning your body's own internal organizing wisdom, will never injure or destroy the structures in which they work. Meaning your body is always constructive and not destructive. So the body is never going to do anything to itself that is going to harm itself. This is huge because your body is always doing the right thing unless we get in the way. So, normal response, we've got that. Active defenses that you guys want to know: at 102 degrees, bacteria are often killed. At 103, viruses are killed. Interferon is produced, which triggers your immune cell cascades. But the big takeaway I want to get you from this are the 3 main causes of fever going too high. When should I worry that my kid's fever is too high? Number 1, traumatic brain injury. If there is a concussion, if there is some sort of impact to the head, the brain controls the rest of the body through the nervous system. It now can't regulate itself. Emergency, go to the hospital. Number 2, external environment. Duh. This is, hey, you stayed in the sauna too long. Hey, you're stuck in the Grand Canyon. You're hiking South Mountain at 115 degrees. Like, not good. Stuck in a hot car. Done. But the third, this is the biggest one. This is the danger and the takeaway for you guys. Primary cause of fever going to an extreme height is use of fever-reducing chemicals. This is Tylenol. Your body is on the job trying to ramp a fever up to kill viruses. If you give a chemical that suppresses that, takes it from 105 and brings it down to 98, your body is smart, says, no, I want to kill this stuff. I'm trying to survive here. So it powers through that chemical until that Tylenol wears off, and it over-responds. It goes too high. This is why you want to be wary at the least, or at the best, not use this stuff, because your body's on the job. It's going to be just fine. Talk to us about Tylenol there, Mike.
Okay. If anybody has this in your home, I want you to go home and throw it in the trash. Okay, number 1. If you have children that have it in their home, go take it out and put it in their trash. Here's why. Tylenol, number 1, not only to back up what he just said, that this is why it will spike higher, but from a health perspective, what studies show is that Tylenol depletes glutathione, which is basically your body's number 1 antioxidant that it makes. So the number 1 thing that it makes to help your body's immune system, this depletes it. Okay? To me, that sounds counterproductive, right? Then you also think, so Tylenol, acetaminophen, one of the things that we learned in this study over here, I'm going to read this just so I get this accurate because I need you guys to hear this. When they looked at Tylenol to see if it was safe for children, they only studied it for 48 hours. And what they were looking at was, did it go to the brain or did it stay in the body? And it did not go to the brain. So they passed it. Here's what they find now that it's been passed and they've studied it further, is that acetaminophen does pass the blood-brain barrier and it does get into the brain. And if you get acetaminophen or Tylenol into the brain and you do this consistently, you can create inflammation in the brain. Brain inflammation is not a good thing. And this is a drug that we it's an over-the-counter drug that we give to our kids and ourselves, and it's like there's no regulation on it, which is kind of wild to me that you can have something over-the-counter that can get into your child's brain and cause inflammation. Does that make sense? To me, that's just like, it's very weird. But you go in there, and when they started to do more studies on this, what they found was that when you took people with the flu and you gave them Tylenol, the 2 groups, the group that took the Tylenol were actually sick 3 to 4 days longer than people that did not. When you trusted your body to fight it the way that it was supposed to fight it, you were actually sick less. The only reason we give the Tylenol is because we think that we're in pain and we want to minimize the pain, but you prolong the overall sickness. Do you guys see that? So not only is it not helping your body, but it's actually harming it in a lot of ways. And then I believe in that study that is linked right over there, they also said that it increases allergies by 60%, asthma by 60%, and it also leads to kidney dysfunction in children. So,
just to hammer this home, because this is huge, because this is everyday stuff. This determines what you believe about your body, if it's smart or not. So if you guys have a fever, shout out, do you feel hot on the inside or cold? Cold. You're shivering. Do you know why? Because your body is smart and is trying to get you to warm up. So that's why in our house, when we have a fever, we're wrapping up, socks, beanie, blanket, let the body do its thing. And then when you break a fever, why do we say break a fever? It's because you start to break a sweat. If your body is sweating, it's innately trying to cool down. So when you break a sweat, that's when, hey, I'm good. Now I come back down. So this should change for some of you how your winter could go and how you handle an immune response.
It's good. All right, last one. Chiropractic care is just for back pain. True or false? Woo!
Hang on a second.
I know. No
Look at
shirt for
this
you.
guy.
I know. Here's this is what's so funny. So to be fully transparent, when I got into chiropractic, before I did, I thought that's who you go to when you have back pain or headaches. Like I thought that's what those guys do. If you know my backstory, I got into chiropractic because my dad was basically helped with heart disease. He had a heart attack, and this guy helped him get through there. When I've gotten into chiropractic, between the two of us, we've probably seen thousands and thousands of patients now with all kinds of different scenarios. Here's why this section is important. I'm going to pre-frame this before I get into it, is that when you leave this office, we need you guys to understand all of the topics that you have heard tonight. How do you now communicate this to other people, right? How do you help other people? How do you use this as missionary work to help people around you that need to know this stuff? But with chiropractic, it's like people laugh. They go, you know, who's a good candidate to be a patient for chiropractic? I go, anybody with a beating heart. Anybody that has an issue. And here's the reason why. Your nervous system is what we're working with. And when your nervous system controls everything in your body, if that's the source that we're working with, then when you see patients that have all sorts of things, then you go, hey, they would be a good fit for chiropractic care. So we're going to go through this. This is just people that we've seen in our office. Weight loss. She literally did nothing but get adjusted. 10 pounds came off of her. This girl over here, chronic bladder pain. And the doctor wanted to give her a significant, she was on 8 different medications to try to balance her bladder. Gone. Chiropractic care. This young lady, acid reflux. Gone. Chiropractic care. This young lady, 20 years of headaches. Gone. Chiropractic care. This guy was eating Tums daily. He said, I was eating Tums like they were Skittles because I didn't know what else to do. Not a single Tum. Chiropractic care. And then this beautiful little girl over here, she had such a bad immune system. She was missing so many days of school that they were going to have to tell her that she had to repeat. Started getting adjusted, 0 sick days the rest of the year. So Gilbert Christian, baby. This little girl, this is, again, your immune system. There's so many pieces of the puzzle that this is good for. When you look at this, this is why when people go, oh, there's a cholesterol issue, I'm like, you need to get adjusted. They're like, oh, there's a thyroid issue, you need to get adjusted. Digestion, get adjusted. You're pregnant, get adjusted. Whatever it is, I'm like, just this morning, we had a 3-week-old little baby come in. Baby was born, head got stuck, couldn't turn their head. Mom literally couldn't feed on one side because the baby wouldn't turn their head. Got adjusted, baby's nursing. Again, this is where the things that you wouldn't think about would be a chiropractic thing. From now on, when you're at church or you're at work and someone's like, hey, I got this thing. Before they tell you what the thing is, you go to the chiropractor. That's what you tell them. I don't know what it is, but go to the chiropractor. Here's what's really cool. This lady, here's why, I'm going to hammer this home real quick. Here's why this is so important to come to an office like this or like his office, because there's an x-ray being taken. Now, not all chiropractors take x-rays. Here's why this is important. This young lady right here, when you look at your spine should be perfectly straight up and down. Is her spine straight up and down? No. She did not come in for back pain. She had chronic digestive issues. She had what they call IBS, right? Irritable bowel syndrome. Couldn't leave the house. Not even any back pain. We see her x-ray right here. She gets under care. We start to correct her spine under care. A couple months later, spine is straight. Guess what's gone? IBS. Guess what doctors say is incurable? IBS.
But they have a pill for it.
There's a pill for everything. But they also say, hey, what seems right to man in the end leads to, here we go, this last one. This young lady right here, she came in, your neck, if you remember from that poster, your neck should have a 45-degree arc like a C shape. Does her neck have a C shape? No, straight up and down. This young lady came in, headaches, migraines, thyroid dysfunction, and she also had high blood pressure. And she was on blood pressure meds, thyroid meds, and statins. And she came in, 0 neck pain. This is why I'm saying it's not about pain. 0 neck pain, but she had all those symptoms going on. We started getting her adjusted. We put her on a very specific corrective plan. And all we did, I didn't treat her blood pressure, I didn't treat her cholesterol. We helped her spine get in the right position. A few months later, this is her spine. Guess what she no longer has? Blood pressure issues, cholesterol issues, no more statins. Again, the body will heal when you get to the root cause of the issue. And my point in saying all this is that most places, how do you know if you get to the root cause of the issue? This is where you got to hit it. You have to take an x-ray. If you take an x-ray, you find where the body is not aligned right, and then you can find the dysfunction. Then you put a plan together to fix the dysfunction. You guys with me on this? So here's the last thing I was going to say this. If you guys are hearing this and you go, man, I wish I had this person. I know they've been struggling with this thing. I know they need help with this thing, but I don't know, like they don't know what to do. Here's what we're doing. For the next week, we're doing something called Friends and Family Week. For this next week, if you tell your friends or family you need to go see Empower so that they can check out and see what's going on, they're going to receive a nerve scan, a full consultation, and a full set of x-rays, and it's going to be completely free. I don't do this very often. I'm going to waive the entire cost of their visit because I care about the people that you care about. Does that make sense? You have them call in and get in by next week. I will comp their entire visit just so they can find out if we can help them. How's that sound? Fair? Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what we're going to do. Dr. Lucas and I are going to hang up here for a few more minutes. If you guys have any specific questions you want to come ask. If not, I pray that you guys take this information and you go bless somebody else with it. I pray that it bless you and that ultimately we can use our discernment to see through the lines and help make this a better strategic way of communicating to others and we see through the stuff. Amen? Okay, we'll hang out a little longer if you guys have questions. If not, God bless you.
Thank you, guys.